The sun that afternoon in Ouagadougou did not just shine. It pressed down like a weight. Heat shimmered above the dusty road, and every movement felt heavy, slow, almost tired. Vendors shouted prices. Children weaved between the crowd barefoot. Motorcycles coughed smoke as they zigzagged through traffic. And the smell of roasted corn floated through the air like a warm memory from childhood. In the middle of this restless city walked a man the world had forgotten. Mr. Doumbia, 75 years old. Thin, gentle, and carrying the kind of dignity that comes only from a life spent giving more than he ever received. His back was arched, his steps careful, his breathing slow. Sunlight touched his white hair, and for a brief moment, he looked like a man wrapped in light. Once, many years ago, he had been celebrated. One of Burkina Faso's greatest teachers. A man who shaped thousands of young minds. Ministers, soldiers, entrepreneurs. Even a mischievous young boy who loved to talk in class. A boy named Ibrahim Traoré. But time, as always, was cruel. No pension. No remaining family. A home that cracked a little more each rainy season. A life no one paid attention to anymore. Yet every morning, he whispered, "Alhamdulillah. Thank you for another day." And he carried himself with humility, a kind of softness most people lose long before they reach his age. That afternoon, with a few coins he had saved painfully over a week, he walked toward the small roasted corn stall he loved. And there she was, Mariam, the woman who sold corn every day at the corner of the market. She was known for two things, her corn and her sharp tongue. But for a reason no one understood, she had always disliked Mr. Doumbia. Maybe she saw his dignity as arrogance. Maybe his calmness irritated her chaos. Nobody knew. As he approached, he greeted her warmly, like a father speaking to his daughter. "Good afternoon, my child," he said softly. Mariam barely looked at him. She rolled her eyes, exhaled loudly, and pretended she didn't hear a word. Still smiling gently, he pointed at a single roasted corn. "I would like to buy one, please." Her eyes narrowed. "How much do you have?" she asked sharply. Slowly, his trembling hand reached into his pocket. He pulled out a few coins, small, but enough for one corn. He offered them with both hands, respectfully. But Miriam's face hardened instantly. "That's not enough," she snapped. "You trying to cheat me? You old thief." His heart dropped. "My daughter. This is the price I always pay." But she wasn't listening. She grabbed a corn from the fire, lifted it dramatically, and shouted loud enough for the entire market to hear. "Thief! Thief! This old man is trying to steal from me." Heads turned. Feet rushed closer. Voices exploded. "You're too old to be stealing. What a shame. This is wickedness." A few even pushed him. Coins fell from his hand and scattered in the dust. Tears collected in his eyes, not from fear, but from humiliation. 75 years of honesty, 75 years of dignity, all destroyed in one careless scream. He raised his frail hands, begging, shaking. "Please, I am not a thief. Paid. I only wanted one corn." But the crowd had already tasted drama. They didn't want truth. They wanted noise. Phones went up. People recorded. Some laughed. Mariam kept shouting, "I caught him." He tried to run. "This old man is wicked." And just when the humiliation became unbearable, a black official car rolled slowly past the market. Inside sat the man whose life the old teacher had once shaped. President Ibrahim Traoré. He was returning from a meeting when the shouting reached him. He leaned forward. "Stop the car," he said, his tone sharp, urgent. The vehicle halted. He stepped out, not with the arrogance of power, but with the decisiveness of a man who knows injustice when he sees it. As soon as Ibrahim saw the trembling figure in the center of the crowd, the world seemed to stop. His throat tightened. His eyes softened. He recognized him instantly. "My teacher," he whispered, voice breaking. He walked straight into the crowd. Guards tried to move ahead, but Ibrahim raised his hand. "No, let me go alone." Silence spread like a wave. People froze. Mouths opened. The market went still. Mariam's scream died mid-air. Her face turned pale. Her hands began to shake. She stuttered, "President. Good afternoon, sir." But Ibrahim Traoré wasn't looking at her. He was looking at the old man who once taught him discipline, honesty, and respect. The man the world had forgotten, but he never had. And as he stepped closer, something powerful, something life-changing, was about to happen. Ibrahim didn't spare Mariam even a glance. Not yet. His attention was fixed on the one person in that circle who truly mattered. His eyes scanned the crowd, past the accusing faces, past the curious phones, until they finally found the trembling figure of his old teacher. Softly, almost like a son calling out to a father, he said, "Mr. Dumbia." The old man lifted his face slowly. Tears still clung to his lashes. And when he saw who stood before him, his breath hitched. "Ibrahim, my son," he whispered, voice breaking. For a moment, the market disappeared. There was no crowd, no noise, no humiliation. Just a teacher and the boy he once guided. President Ibrahim Traoré stepped closer and took the old man's frail hands in both of his. "Sir," he said with deep reverence, "please sit." One of the guards ran to fetch a chair, but Ibrahim himself held the old man's arm, supporting him with the gentleness of a grateful child. He helped him sit slowly, carefully, respectfully. Only then did he turn to face the crowd. His voice was calm, but beneath that calm, there was steel, a quiet, controlled fire that made everyone freeze. Who accused this man of stealing? Silence. No one moved. Even the air felt afraid to shift. Finally, with a trembling hand, Mariam pointed at herself. "Yes, sir. It was me." Ibrahim didn't blink. "Speak clearly," he commanded. Her voice cracked like dry wood. He came to buy corn. I told him the price. He refused to pay enough. He tried to take one without giving the right amount. The president listened without interrupting. Not a flicker of emotion crossed his face. When she finished, he turned back to the old teacher. His voice softened instantly. "Sir, is this true?" Mr. Dumbia closed his eyes, and more tears slipped through. "My president, I gave her everything I had. I just wanted one corn. I have never stolen anything in my life." That single sentence cut through the market like a blade. Ibrahim nodded slowly, then turned to Mariam again. But this time the gentleness was gone. His expression hardened. His jaw tightened. His voice deepened. "So you are accusing a man who taught generations of children in this nation, of stealing roasted corn." The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Feet shuffled. Eyes dropped. He stepped closer to Mariam, his gaze piercing. "Have you no shame?" The words struck her like a slap. People who had mocked the old man moments earlier suddenly wished they could swallow their insults back. Faces flushed with guilt. Mothers lowered their heads. Traders hid their eyes. Sweat trickled down Mariam's face. "Yes, sir. I didn't mean." "You didn't mean?" Ibrahim snapped, his voice cold and sharp. "You shouted 'thief' in front of the entire market. You encouraged the crowd to shame him. You tried to destroy an honorable man because of hatred." Her lips shook. No words came out. "I will tell you who this man truly is," Ibrahim continued. He turned to the crowd. "This man is one of the greatest pillars of this nation. While you were still learning to walk, he was shaping the minds of the children who would lead this country. Gasps fluttered through the air. Ibrahim placed his hand gently on the old man's shoulder. This man taught me in primary school. He taught me to read, to write. He corrected me when I misbehaved. He guided me when I was lost. Without teachers like him, without this man, I would not be standing before you today as your president. His voice cracked, just slightly, enough for the crowd to feel the weight of truth. And then his tone sharpened like a blade. And yet today, you gathered around him like wild animals. Over one piece of roasted corn, you insulted him, pushed him, humiliated him. He paused. What has happened to our hearts? Why do we rush to destroy before we seek the truth? Why do we choose hatred over compassion? The market dropped into absolute silence. Some wiped their tears. Others hid their faces. Everyone felt the sting of guilt. And then Ibrahim turned back to Mariam, this time with thunder in his voice. You will be arrested for false accusation. She collapsed to her knees instantly. No, sir. Please. Forgive me. I was wrong. Stand up, Ibrahim ordered coldly. Do not beg me. Beg the man you insulted. Shaking uncontrollably, Mariam crawled to the old teacher. Her tears dripped into the dust. Please forgive me, she sobbed. I lied. I don't know what came over me. I am sorry. The old man looked at her with eyes full of exhaustion and compassion. He lifted his trembling hand and whispered, My daughter, I forgive you. The crowd gasped. Forgiveness from a man they had just crushed. But something deeper was coming. Something Ibrahim was about to reveal that would shake the entire market to its core. Mr. Dumbia's voice was soft, but his words carried the weight of a lifetime. But never again, he whispered. Never again destroy someone's name because of hatred. The crowd trembled at his kindness. President Ibrahim nodded slowly. His voice, however, remained firm, sharp enough to carve truth into every heart present. Forgiveness, he said, does not erase consequences. Hatred has a price. Lies have a price. He looked at Mariam, then let his eyes sweep the silenced market. You will still answer to the law for lying, for igniting chaos, for bringing shame upon an innocent man. And let this be a lesson to each one of you. He raised his voice so the words reached every corner of the marketplace. Today it was Mr. Dumbia. Tomorrow it could be you, or your father, or your mother, or your own child. He paused. Never destroy a life with lies. A soft, ashamed murmur rose from the people. Yes, sir. Security officers stepped forward. They lifted Mariam gently but with authority. No one protested. No one dared. People only watched in stunned silence as she was led away. Not with anger now, but with regret, with the heavy realization of what they had allowed themselves to become. Ibrahim stood beside his teacher, jaw tight, eyes filled with a quiet storm. He had seen something that day, how quickly people abandoned truth, how easily innocence could be crushed under the weight of a single shout, how a crowd could turn into a weapon. Finally, he spoke to his guards. Bring the car closer. The black official vehicle rolled forward. But to everyone's astonishment, the president himself opened the door, not for a minister, not for a general, but for an old teacher the world had abandoned. With both hands, he helped Mr. Dumbia into the back seat. Gently, respectfully, like a son helping his father. Let's go home, sir, he whispered. As the car pulled away, the market remained frozen. Heads bowed, hearts heavy. Not a voice rose, not a foot moved. Only when the car disappeared did people slowly lower their eyes, realizing the gravity of what they had witnessed. Inside the car, the world felt quiet. Mr. Dumbia sat with his hands trembling on his lap, tears shining in the corners of his eyes. He spoke in a voice barely audible. "I never thought the boy I once taught would one day defend me before an entire nation." Ibrahim turned to him, his expression soft. "No, sir. You saved me long before today." The old man looked up, surprised. "You taught me values that shaped my life: honor, humility, courage. You planted seeds in a boy who knew nothing. Today is not me defending you. It is me repaying a debt." The teacher's lips curved into a trembling smile. "I am proud of you, Ibrahim, very proud." For a moment they rode in silence. Not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of two souls connected by gratitude. Then Ibrahim spoke again. "Do you know, sir, that many of your former students still speak of you with honor? You raised doctors, farmers, soldiers, leaders. Your lessons built this country's backbone." Mr. Dumbia lowered his head. Humility wrapped around him like a cloak. "I only did what God called me to do." "And you did it well," Ibrahim said, his voice firm, full of conviction. When they entered the presidential palace, guards opened the gates quickly, stepping aside in surprise. Officials and staff paused mid-step as they saw the president helping an elderly man out of the car. "Prepare a guest room," Ibrahim ordered. "He will stay with me for now." Servants rushed to obey. That night, for the first time in many years, Mr. Dumbia slept in a soft, clean bed. Air cooled the room. Food was placed gently by his side. Peace, something he had not felt in decades, wrapped around him. Tears slid down his cheeks as he whispered into the quiet, "God, you have remembered me in my old age." The very next morning, President Ibrahim Traoré called a national press conference. The hall filled with cameras, microphones, journalists, and millions watching live across the country. Beside the president sat a dignified old man in fresh clothes, the same man the crowd had nearly destroyed a day earlier. Ibrahim began, "My fellow citizens." His voice was calm, but a deep sorrow lay beneath it. "Yesterday, something shameful happened in one of our markets. An innocent man, an elder, was humiliated because of a lie." He placed a protective hand on Mr. Dumbia's arm. "This man is not just a citizen. He is my teacher. He taught me discipline, truth, respect, qualities that shaped my life and leadership." He took a breath. "And yet, he was called a thief over a single corn, because one person allowed hatred to control her heart." His voice grew sharper. "We have become a society that destroys too quickly, too quick to judge, too quick to humiliate, too quick to believe lies." His next words would shake the whole nation, but that part of the story is only beginning. The hall was so silent, you could almost hear the dust settling on the cameras. President Ibrahim Traoré had spoken, and his words hit every heart like a hammer of truth. "We believe lies too quickly. We judge without listening. This ends today." The room froze. Journalists lowered their pens. Ministers shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Even the security guards felt a strange stillness creeping over them. He wasn't just giving a speech. He was holding up a mirror to the nation. "From this moment," he continued, "anyone who spreads lies to destroy another human being will face serious punishment under the law. We will not allow wickedness to grow in silence." A quiet gasp escaped from someone in the back row. Everyone understood. This was not politics. This was justice speaking with a human face. Traoré slowly turned toward his old teacher, the man who had once believed in him, when he was just a thin, shy boy with dusty shoes, and dreams bigger than his pockets. Ibrahim lowered his head respectfully. "Sir, on behalf of this nation, I apologize for everything you endured yesterday. You deserved honor, not humiliation." The old teacher's lips trembled, not from weakness, but from the overwhelming weight of unexpected dignity. Within hours, the president's words spread like wildfire. People shared stories of their own teachers, the strict ones who pushed them, the gentle ones who comforted them, the mentors who shaped them. One comment read, "Without teachers, we are blind. Thank you, President Ibrahim, for reminding us." Another, "May Allah bless our leader. He speaks truth when others stay silent." But while the nation applauded, Mariam sat alone in a cold police cell. For the first time in her life, her world had no noise, no friends to gossip with, no lies to hide behind, no pride to protect her, just silence and guilt. Her hands shook, her throat tightened. Every second felt heavier than the last. The investigating officer entered, his boots echoing sharply against the concrete floor. "Do you understand what your lies have caused?" She couldn't look at him. Her voice crumbled. I never thought it would go this far." He leaned forward, his tone stern but not cruel. "You thought it was a small lie, but it almost destroyed a man's life, and nearly divided an entire nation." Her whole body collapsed into tears. She pressed her shaking hands over her face, as regret poured out of her like a broken river. If only she could turn back time. If only she had stayed silent. If only she had chosen truth over jealousy. But life does not rewind. 2 days later, the police station erupted into panic. The president himself had arrived. Officers sprinted into formation, standing straight, hands trembling as they saluted. No one understood. Why would the head of state come for one prisoner? Ibrahim stepped inside with steady, quiet steps. "I want to see Mariam." The officers exchanged shocked glances. She was led out slowly, a pale shadow of the arrogant woman she once was. Her voice trembled. Her knees buckled when she recognized him. She collapsed to the floor. "Please, sir, forgive me." Ibrahim's voice was gentle, yet every syllable carried the authority of a man who knows the weight of justice. "Stand up, Mariam." She obeyed, trembling uncontrollably. He looked directly into her eyes, not with anger, but with truth. "Your lies could have killed an innocent man. Do you know how many families in our country have been torn apart because of false accusations?" The silence that followed was suffocating. Then he continued, softer, "I ordered your arrest, not to destroy you, but to teach a lesson to every citizen who chooses lies over truth." She wept openly. "I regret everything. I swear, sir, I regret it all." Ibrahim nodded slowly. And then, the unexpected happened. "That is why today, I am pardoning you." Her head shot up. You mean, I'm free?" "Yes," he said, "but freedom comes with responsibility. Change your life. Choose truth. Never again use lies as weapons." She sobbed uncontrollably, whispering, "Allah will bless you, sir. Thank you. Thank you." She was released immediately. Days later, President Ibrahim invited Mr. Doumbia, his teacher, back to the palace. This time, loyalty did not bring him here. Gratitude did. Ibrahim greeted him with a warm smile that melted years from the old man's tired face. "My teacher," he said gently, "I have something for you." He handed him a sealed envelope. Mr. Doumbia's fingers trembled as he opened it. He scanned the papers, and his breath caught. "A house," he whispered. Ibrahim nodded. "A home. Peaceful, beautiful, and close to the city. A small gift to honor the man who once guided a young boy who had nothing except hope." Tears flowed freely down the old man's cheeks. The president placed a hand on his shoulder. "You built generations with your words. Let us now build something for you." The camera would fade here, but the story was far from over. Because in every corner of the nation, one question had begun to rise. If truth can save one man, imagine what it could save for all of us. Mr. Doumbia held the papers in his wrinkled hands, his voice trembling like an old violin string. "My son," he whispered, barely able to form the words. You have already done more than enough for me." His eyes shimmered with gratitude. But Ibrahim was not done. Not now. Not when his heart still carried more to give. The president smiled gently. "There is one more thing." The old teacher looked up, surprised, a corner of his mouth lifting in curiosity. Ibrahim continued softly, as if he were telling an old secret. "You once told me something I never forgot." Mr. Dumbia blinked slowly. "What was that, my son?" The president stepped closer, placing a hand on the elderly man's shoulder. "You told me that you loved bookshops." At that moment, the old man's entire face lit up, like the sun rising behind dusty mountains. He laughed, not the laugh of an old man, but the bright, youthful laugh of the teacher he once was. "Yes, yes, my son. Books give me life. Being surrounded by them feels like home." Ibrahim nodded as if he had been waiting for this truth to emerge from the man's heart. Then he said the words that would forever change the old teacher's final years. "I have opened a bookshop for you." The room fell still. "You will not run it alone," Ibrahim added. "People will help you. You won't lift heavy boxes or worry about sales. You will simply sit among the books, read, speak with young people, and welcome anyone who seeks wisdom." The old man staggered, a hand flying to his chest. His voice cracked. "My son, may Allah bless you beyond measure." Tears slipped down his face, not tears of sadness, but tears of purpose. "I am old," he whispered, "but this little bookshop, this gives me a reason to wake up every morning." He looked at Ibrahim with eyes full of life. "Without it, I would simply grow weaker. But this is life. This is joy." Ibrahim laughed softly, a warm, affectionate sound. "And you deserve joy, sir. You spent your entire life building children's futures. Let us now give you something beautiful for your own." They stood there, 2 generations held together by something deeper than gratitude, a bond carved from decades of respect. The president moved forward and embraced him gently. It was not the embrace of a leader hugging a citizen. It was a student hugging his teacher, a son hugging a father, a nation hugging its conscience. And in that moment, the cameras in the palace captured something that would later shake the hearts of millions. A leader who did not forget, the hand that once guided him through the uncertainties of childhood. News of the teacher and the bookshop spread across Burkina Faso like a warm wind. Parents shared the story with their children, reminding them to respect their elders and cherish their teachers. Teachers felt seen again. They walked into classrooms with renewed pride in their steps. Market sellers, drivers, neighbors, everyone began thinking twice before spreading rumors or accusations. People started to understand. A lie can destroy a person, but truth can rebuild a nation. This single story reached villages, mosques, markets, and phones. It reached the old and the young. It reached those who had forgotten to hope, and those who had forgotten to forgive. And what of Mr. Dumbia? His final years unfolded, like the ending of a gentle novel. Every morning he walked slowly to his small bookshop. He would sit in a wooden chair that faced the entrance, a cup of tea beside him, and stacks of books surrounding him like old friends. Children would enter with shy smiles. Students came seeking wisdom. Even adults visited, just to hear the soft, thoughtful words of the man who had once taught a future president. He was no longer forgotten. He was loved. He was valued. He was honored. He spent his last days, not in shame or loneliness, but in peace, wrapped in the comfort of the books he adored, and the gratitude of a nation that finally recognized his worth. As for President Ibrahim Traoré, his actions echoed far deeper than politics. Once again, he showed the world what true leadership looks like. Firm when justice is needed, merciful when mercy can heal, and always committed to the dignity of every citizen. He taught his people that a leader's strength is not only in power, but in compassion. Not only in decisions, but in humanity. Not only in laws, but in the courage to forgive. This story reminds all of us, lies can destroy lives, but truth can rebuild hearts. Hatred can blind nations, but compassion can restore them. Teachers are the pillars of our future. Elders are the treasure of our past. And leaders who honor both are rare blessings. If this story touched your heart, if it made you reflect, if it reminded you of your own teacher, write "God bless President Traore" in the comments. Your engagement spreads this message of justice, truth, and gratitude. Don't forget to thumbs up like this video. Outbox tray, share it with someone who needs hope. Bell subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss these powerful true stories that inspire change across the world. Thank you for watching, for supporting, for believing. Every view, every comment, every share helps spread light where darkness once tried to grow. Stay blessed, and I'll see you in the next story.